Do you ever feel violent?
Yes, I do.
What do you feel like doing?
Killing people.
You still feel like killing people?
Yes.
Do you think you'd murder me, Joe?
Yes.
That's gruesome, Joe. That's horrible.
Yes, it is.
And you don't blame me if I say I hope you never get out of this place.
I hope I never do either.
When I first stumbled upon this video, I was stunned. As a true crime enthusiast, it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. The raw honesty of this killer was equally unsettling as it was intriguing, and I needed to learn more. So when this interview blew up and became my most highly requested video, I did some searching. And after some digging, I managed to find the full-length interview along with one of the most baffling true crime cases I have ever heard. So with that, here is the full story of Joseph Kallinger, the ShoeMaker. Joseph Kallinger was born on December 11, 1935 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His life was marked by cruelty from the moment it began. At just 2 years old, he was abandoned by his biological parents and placed in an orphanage. By the age of 4, he was adopted by a strict German couple who would make his childhood a living hell. According to court documents, his adoptive mother beat him almost daily, using belts, sticks, and even heated irons. She reportedly forced him to kneel on jagged rocks while reciting prayers, and when he tried to run away, she would lock him in a dark closet for days at a time. These punishments were often in response to what she called bad behavior, though in reality, it was usually just the curiosity of a young child. Some psychiatrists later suggested that Joseph may have already been showing signs of schizophrenia, which is something incredibly rare in his early age. Neighbors described the home as quiet but oddly tense, and no one could have imagined that that little boy was living under such brutality and would one day become a murderer. And it was around this time that Joseph began hearing voices. They told him to harm other children with a knife. So on 3 separate occasions, he lured kids to remote areas and pulled a blade on them, threatening them into doing what he wanted. At first, he felt guilt, but that guilt quickly gave way to something else, a feeling of power, and that power made him happy. As he grew older, Joseph appeared to settle into a normal life. He dropped out of school at 15 and became an apprentice shoemaker under his parents, who owned a small shoe repair shop. He excelled at the trade, and for the first time ever, it seemed like he had found purpose. But even during this seemingly peaceful period, he claimed he was approached by God, who instructed him to create orthopedic inventions that would heal the world. He believed this mission was holy. In his early 20s, he opened his own shoe repair business, got married, and had 2 children. The marriage was short-lived. His wife left him for another man, something that deeply worsened his already fragile sense of abandonment. And eventually, he remarried and had 5 more children. From the outside, his life looked stable. A hard-working shoemaker, a husband, and a father of 7. But behind the scenes, his mental state was unraveling. He began hearing voices again, this time from a dark-robed entity wearing a witch's hat. The voices told him to set fire to his own house on multiple occasions, each time he collected insurance money. And soon after, he was approached by God once again, who told him that the only way to keep his children from falling into sin was through harsh discipline. For years, Joseph had swore never to inflict on his children what his parents had done to him. But soon, he broke this vow, using the same belts, sticks, and heated irons that had once scarred his own body. Social workers intervened several times, but it hardly helped. Because in 1957, after one incident when Joseph was committed to a psychiatric hospital and diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, he was released after only 2 weeks and given a 4-year probation along with court-ordered therapy, which he never attended. Not long after returning home, the violence began again. Despite years of documented abuse, the courts ruled that the children were better off remaining with their father. When Joseph returned to his shoe repair shop, many of his customers had abandoned him, unwilling to support a man accused of brutalizing his family. In an effort to restore his reputation, he convinced his son Tommy to write backdated journal entries claiming the children had lied, and that his daughter Isabel had fabricated the abuse because her father wouldn't let her date older boys. Meanwhile, Joseph's delusions deepened. He began hearing God's voice again and spent hours writing strange religious manifestos describing himself as a prophet chosen to cleanse the world. When police searched his home years later, they discovered journals filled with chilling messages like, "The Lord commands me to destroy the wicked and the unbelievers." In the winter of 1973, Joseph claimed that God gave him a mission. To prove his devotion, he was told to rob and ransack people's homes. To help him, he enlisted his 12-year-old son, Michael. Together, they devised a routine. Twice a week, they would ride buses to random towns, break into houses, and steal whatever they could. By 1974, they had burglarized dozens of homes, stealing thousands of dollars worth of valuables. According to Joseph, this test pleased God, who then revealed his true mission: to kill every living person on earth with a butcher's knife so that Joseph could ascend into heaven and become a god himself. He again turned to Michael for help, though he never revealed the full extent of what he believed he had to do. It's thought that Michael agreed partly out of fear, partly from admiration, and possibly because he too was showing signs of schizophrenia, which is a condition known to be hereditary. 11 days later, they claimed their first victim, a young man named Joe Kallinger from Philadelphia, whom they brutally tortured. That same year, Joseph took out a $45,000 life insurance policy on his son Tommy. He became convinced that God wanted him to sacrifice one of his own children, so he told Michael the plan and they began plotting. First, by luring him towards the edge of a cliff, and later by trying to trap him inside a burning trailer. Shortly after the failed attempts, Joseph and Michael lured Tommy to a demolition site and drowned him by chaining him to a ladder which they pushed into a pool of water. His body was found on August 9th, 1974, but police couldn't prove it was murder, and the insurance company refused to pay. Years later, Kallinger admitted to the killing. Following that horror, the father and son pair continued. In November, they broke into houses across New Jersey and Pennsylvania, robbing and assaulting their victims. By January 1975, their crimes had reached their peak. That day, Joseph and Michael arrived at a home in Leonia, New Jersey, posing as salesmen. Inside were several members of the Romaine family and their neighbors. Once inside, Joseph pulled a gun, tied up the victims, and terrorized them at knife point. And when a 21-year-old Maria Fashing, their neighbor, came to check on the family, Joseph forced her inside. Only minutes later in the basement, he attacked and murdered her before fleeing the scene with Michael. Their escape didn't last long. Investigators found a bloody shirt discarded near the house and traced it back to Joseph. And on January 17, 1975, federal and state authorities conducted a joint raid, arresting both Joseph and Michael. 2 months after the arrest, the court ruled that Michael Kallinger, who was still only 13, was delinquent but salvageable. The murder charges were dropped in exchange for a guilty plea on 2 counts of robbery. He was sent to a juvenile facility and later released as an adult under a different name. Joseph, however, faced a very different fate. His first trial in Pennsylvania ended in a hung jury, but a retrial 3 months later convicted him of 9 felony counts and sentenced to 30 to 80 years in prison. The presiding judge called him an evil man, utterly vile and depraved. In October of 1976, Kallinger was convicted again, this time in New Jersey, for the murder of Maria Fashing. He received a mandatory life sentence to be served consecutively with his Pennsylvania term. Life behind bars did nothing to calm him. He suffered from frequent delusions and violent outbursts. In March of 1977, he set himself on fire. A month later, he slashed a fellow prisoner's throat in an unprovoked attack, but the victim somehow survived. Even years later, Joseph showed no remorse. By then, he had been convicted of 2 more murders, those of Joe Kallinger and his own son, adding 2 additional life sentences to his record. In 1990, after a series of suicide attempts and religious hunger strikes, Joseph was transferred to the Fairview State Hospital for the criminally insane. He was later moved back to the State Correctional Institute at Crescent, where, on March 26, 1996, he suffered a seizure and choked to death on his own vomit in a prison infirmary. He was 60 years old.
There are killers on the loose, traveling from town to town, state to state, stalking their victims, kidnapping, raping, then murdering them.
What would you do if you got out of here?
I would probably do the same thing all over again.
What would you do?
Try to murder everyone on the planet Earth.
Joseph Kallinger, a brutal serial killer. We'll be seeing more of him tonight, too. On average, each day, 5 innocent people fall victim to homicidal monsters, like John Wayne Gacy, who was convicted of more murders than anyone else. Authorities have identified 120 serial sex killers. According to some estimates, 35 of them are still on the loose. They roam the highways and shopping centers of America, crazed with sadistic lust. Police insist that to avoid becoming one of their victims, the public must first understand the perverse kind of twisted minds that they are up against. So meet Joe Kallinger, currently serving a life sentence for sex-related murder here at the State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, just outside Scranton, Pennsylvania.
I'm a patient person, got a good listening ear, and try to help people.
You're patient, with a good ear, and you try to help people.
Yes.
When you're not trying to murder them.
Yes.
When Kallinger's reign of terror ended, 3 were dead, including his 14-year-old son.
You murdered your own son?
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
He was a sacrifice. I was to murder 3 million people on the planet Earth. And he was a sacrifice to see if I could murder one of my own. At the end of murdering all the people on Earth, I was going to murder my own family and then take my own life and become God.
What do you think of the death penalty?
I'm opposed to it.
The state has no right to take your life, but you can murder other people?
I don't think anyone has the right to take a life.
Except you?
When I'm under hallucination, I do.
These voices from God, these hallucinations, do you still experience them?
Yes, I do.
Often?
Often.
Do you ever feel violent?
Yes, I do.
What do you feel like doing?
Killing people.
You still feel like killing people?
Yes.
Describe the feeling that you get when you feel like killing people.
Well, last March 11th, I was hallucinating, and I took a razor blade and I cut a man's throat.
Here in the hospital?
Here in the hospital.
Do you think you'd murder me, Joe?
Yes.
That's gruesome, Joe. That's horrible.
Yes, it is.
And you don't blame me if I say I hope you never get out of this place.
I hope I never do either.
Joseph Kallinger's story is often overlooked, but it remains one of the most chilling examples of what happens when deep mental illness collides with religious obsession. He was a man who claimed to act on divine instruction, to purge the world of an evil in the name of God. Yet behind those so-called visions were moments of cold calculation. His decision to take out a life insurance policy on his own child raises questions about whether his actions were truly driven by delusion, or by something darker and more deliberate. We'll never know for certain. What is clear is that his faith, his madness, and his violence became inseparable, consuming his family, his victims, and ultimately, himself.